So the information I'm going to give you today is absolutely unbiased and promotes both universities equally. But the first thing I will say is that you've obviously had a long day. I think you'd probably save the best till last. What I'm about to describe is an extraordinary scheme. There's nothing like this anywhere in the world, and I doubt there ever will be. The pedigree of what we're doing here and the opportunities it's given to so many really bright, initially Hong Kong U students is unparalleled. It is extraordinary, and I hope you agree as we go through this, that this is an incredible opportunity. If this doesn't motivate you to apply to Hong Kong U, then possibly nothing will. But what I will say is that at the end, because it is a fairly complex scheme, it's great to ask questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and probably a lot of other people are thinking it exactly the same. So if you have questions, please do ask them at the end, and we'll do our very best to answer them. But it is a great scheme, and I'm thrilled that you're interested in hearing more about it. Okay, so we call it, it's a bit cheesy, but we call it the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scheme. And it's for students who want to study engineering and natural sciences. So Hong Kong U and Cambridge have one, well, they have many things in common, but one particular thing they have in common is that we have general degrees at the beginning of our programme. So if you want to study engineering, you have to do different elements of engineering. You know, if you want to be a civil engineer, you can't come to Cambridge or Hong Kong U and say, I just want to study civil engineering. You have to do all elements of engineering. And similarly with natural sciences, you might end up graduating in physics or chemistry or biology, but the first part of the programme is much broader. And that breadth and that commonality means that Cambridge and Hong Kong are very compatible. So we've got a very good match to begin with. So we've got one unique programme. Cambridge has no other programme like this with any other organisation in the world. It's only Hong Kong U and Cambridge. And I think a lot of that's to do with myself and John Spinks, who was an advisor to the President and Vice Chancellor in Hong Kong U. And more than a decade ago now, John and I set up this scheme. It was hard work, but probably one of the most notable things that I've certainly done in my career. So it's absolutely unique. There is nothing like it. We get requests at Cambridge all the time from other universities to do something similar. They're all refused. It's just Hong Kong U. Number two, we have two top world 25 universities. So two world-leading universities collaborating in the best interests of some extraordinarily bright students. So what drives this programme is decisions that are in the best interests of the students, you. And we serve your best interests, and then our best interests are also served. If you're doing engineering or physical natural sciences, you'll do 3 years at Cambridge. So 2 years at Hong Kong U and 3 years at Cambridge. If you're doing biological sciences, you'll do 2 years at Hong Kong U and 2 years at Cambridge. 4, extraordinarily, students who graduate from this scheme receive 4 degrees. So because you do 2 degrees at Hong Kong U can give you a degree, and that's their bachelor's degree, and therefore they retain you as alumni. Cambridge will graduate you, if it's natural sciences or engineering, after 3 years study at Cambridge, and you'll receive 2 degrees in one. You'll receive your bachelor's degree, and Cambridge only offers Bachelor of Arts. And if you're doing engineering, you'll receive an MEng. And it's an MSci if you're doing natural sciences. So it's essentially, you know, for normal students doing the normal cohort, it's a 3-year bachelor's degree and then a 1-year master's degree. For students from Hong Kong U, you'll be doing effectively a 2 years bachelor degree because you've done 2 years Hong Kong U and then a 1-year graduate degree. So you'll get 2 degrees when you graduate at the end of your 3-year Cambridge studies. Add that to your Hong Kong U degree, that's 3 degrees. And then Cambridge awards a Master of Arts to all its students 3 years after they graduate. So that's 4 degrees in total. 5 years of study. So there's no scheme anywhere in the world that gives you 4 highly respected degrees from world-leading universities after 5 years study. And the total cost of the study for those 5 years will be less than it would have cost you to study 4 years at Cambridge. So this is an extraordinary scheme. And those going through it successfully, and we've had many students go through it successfully. Just to give you an idea, 1 year, we have 4 years at Cambridge. The original format of this scheme was 1 year at Hong Kong U and 4 years at Cambridge. 1 year, a Hong Kong U Cambridge student topped every year of the Cambridge engineering course. It generates such high quality students. Okay, so an extraordinary scheme that's now been going for about 14 years. So who's eligible? Well, you must be a first year student at Hong Kong U. That's all part of the normal Hong Kong U admissions process. Cambridge doesn't get involved in that. Hong Kong U admits its students. And then in natural sciences, physical and biological and engineering, there's an internal process. But essentially, it's for students who are extremely good students. Both degrees are demanding, and unless you're a top student, this scheme is probably not for you. So you're going to have to demonstrate extremely good examination results in pre-university examinations. They could be local examinations, DSE examinations for Hong Kong students, Gaokao if it's Chinese mainland applicants, A-levels or IB. Only the very best students really should apply. And we talk about a quota for the scheme. There's no real quota, but there are guidelines. And because the students that are moving from Hong Kong to Cambridge are outstanding students, Hong Kong U doesn't want to lose too many of its good students. So we kind of aim for no more than 10 students per year in each of engineering, physical natural sciences and biological natural sciences. So that's 30 students in all. We've been running the engineering scheme for much longer than the natural sciences scheme, but typically about 60% of students applying from engineering receive offers, 40% from natural sciences physical, but the numbers are small, and 80% from natural sciences biological. Now, to put those numbers in context, if we look at the entire cohort for engineering, last year only 12% of the students who applied to us received an offer. So you can see this scheme, it's 60%. You're 5 times more likely to be made an offer via this scheme than if you're a direct applicant. And that's because there's a lot of pre-selection goes on before students are allowed to apply. In other words, you maximise your effort when there's a reasonable chance that you're going to be made an offer from Cambridge. And then when you do come to Cambridge, you start the second year of the course that you've applied for. We make you an affiliated student, and that excuses you the first year, but after that you're treated like every other student in Cambridge. The deadlines of application are the same, the conditions on choosing a college are exactly the same, the academic admissions assessment is exactly the same, and when you come to Cambridge you're treated in exactly the same way as all other students who are at your college and who are studying at that particular subject. So what's the selection process? Well, Hong Kong U set a screening test based on science and mathematics. And engineering in particular, we've had large numbers of students interested in applying. I think 1 year, 200 students expressed an interest. So it's obviously very competitive. The initial screening test then sieves that down to about 50. And there are other internal processes within Hong Kong U that then identifies between 15 and 20 students to apply to the scheme through UCAS. And UCAS is the UK's University Central Admission Service. So you make one application, you can apply to 5 UK universities. In this case, students usually only apply to one, and that's Cambridge. And therefore, those applicants then come directly to Cambridge, just as every other applicants do. I oversee the applicant list, and I'm in constant communication with the colleges to make sure that every Cambridge college, and we've got 26 of them that admit undergraduates, are all treating the applicants the same. It's a bit of a challenge, but it's my challenge, not your challenge. There's then an admissions assessment, and we have one examination for natural sciences, physical and engineering, and you'll take that test in Hong Kong around about the end of October or the beginning of November, and we use results of that test as part of the selection process as well. The recommendation from Hong Kong U is very tried and tested now. It's not challenged. We assume you're good students, but then we just put you into this normal admissions further assessment process. And then all students receive interviews. So you'll be interviewed online, by academic members of your college. You'll get 2 interviews. Each interview will be a technical interview in nature to determine your academic potential, to make sure if we admit you to our course, there's a good chance that you'll pass. And because we put a lot of effort into admissions, we have a very high pass rate. So last year, less than 0.5% of our students at Cambridge failed. It's a very different process to that of the US, but it's all done on academic potential. So what are the tuition fees? Well, the first 2 years at Hong Kong U for home students is about 44,000 Hong Kong dollars a year. For non-local students, so international, non-Hong Kong U national students, it's about 178,000 per year, Hong Kong dollars. Then at Cambridge, the fees are significantly greater, and they're £56,000 a year. And obviously, as I said, the total cost of that education is less than doing 4 full years at Cambridge. Okay, well that's probably all I want to say for the time being. So with that, I'll stop sharing. Cayman, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add to that, and then we can move on to questions. So thank you for your attention.
Great, thank you, David. That's a wonderful introduction, pretty precise and concise. And that's what you mentioned. We all put a lot of effort to this batch of students. Wishing them the really best along the way over here in Hong Kong U and also further at Cambridge. I would really like to raise a question first before wait more questions from the students, potential student parents. David, how about you tell us a little bit of what you saw of our students later on when how they perform in Cambridge?
Yeah, they perform outstandingly well. So we call our courses a tripos. So we should call them courses, but we're Cambridge, so we call them something different. It's a tripos. And we have different parts of the tripos. So part 1, part 2, part 2A, part 2B, each part's a new year. And until about 4 years ago, I mapped the performance of Hong Kong U students in engineering alone, and 88% received first class honours, which is the highest degree we award in all tripos examinations. So first year, second year, third year and fourth year, 88%. The university average is 28%. So Hong Kong U students outperform the wider cohort by a factor of 3. And that tells you just how good the Hong Kong U students are. And typically when they graduate, they go on to do PhDs. Some of them come back to Hong Kong U, some of them go to the US. But one thing they have in common is that they have huge opportunities to do whatever they like. So that tells you something about the scheme, and that employers and other universities value it extremely highly. I did say it's extremely competitive to get on, but if you do get on it, then the world's your oyster.
Thank you, David. Yes, that's what I've been saying, that we're training the best. When we train the best, doesn't mean that we're in him or her the most comfortable environment. We put a lot of challenge on them, and for them to really take up challenge is another important growth. And I'm really delighted to hear that throughout all the challenges that we put on, their performance later on in Cambridge has been, very comforting in terms of what we're seeing and what you're seeing over there. Thank you very much, David. So I would like to invite any audience right here have any question to ask. Please feel free, please. And any parents, if you have any like to ask in any language, we're pretty sure that we can translate for you as well. So please feel free. Any students, parents, any questions? Please.
Hello, I would like to ask about the admission, because you say your selection criteria is based on the pre-university examination. So if the student, and also the student must be in year 1, so if the student gets so high standard, then do they guarantee they can go to this Cambridge to study for 3 years when they get admitted to Hong Kong U, or after 1 year they study at Hong Kong U for year 1 finished, and then they can apply again if they do not be selected in, when they get entrance?
Yeah. No, it's a very good question. So there are no guarantees. So admission to Cambridge and performance in examinations is a minimum. It contrasts to the US, where if you do very well in SATs, then you're automatically given offers by some US universities. Performance in examinations, it qualifies you for consideration at Cambridge. It doesn't qualify you for admission. It's the starting point, not the end point. We then have these other indicators of academic potential, like performance in the test that will set you, the interview itself, and your general application. We put all that information together to decide whether we're going to make you an offer. It's just that Hong Kong U students receive, a high percentage of them do receive offers. Last year, every bioscience applicant for natural sciences biological received an offer. So although the average is 80%, last year it was 100%. But you have to get to that point to begin with, so there are no guarantees. You're required to achieve a grade point average of 3.6 in relevant core science subjects at Hong Kong U. So, although you apply in your first year of Hong Kong U for consideration, if you don't achieve that 3.6, you will not even be interviewed at Cambridge. So that's the first milestone. Following the interview, you will be given a conditional offer by the Cambridge College you've applied to. And that will be, you also have to achieve a GPA of 3.6 in the relevant core subjects in your second year at Hong Kong U. So after your second year, if your GPA is 3.5, you will not be going to Cambridge. There may be a language requirement as well. I mean, whoever just asked that question, your English is perfect. I don't think you've got any issues with English, but sometimes students are at a lower level of English, and that will be clear at the interview. And a college may add a qualification on IELTS or TOEFL in addition to their academic GPA offer. There's no reapplication, so you apply in your first year for admission at the end of your second year. There's no mechanism for second year students to apply, only first year students. So that keeps the playing field level. And you know, I also think it's not good to keep reapplying for things that you fail to get in. I think it's better to stay at Hong Kong U, which is an extraordinary university, and get on with your life. And you know, you've given it a go. You can always come back to Cambridge for graduate study in the future if that's what you want to do. But to emphasise that the pre-university qualifications gets you into Hong Kong U, and if you're into Hong Kong U, that's good enough for Cambridge. It's then our own assessment of you at the end of your first year that determines whether you'll be made an offer or not. I'm sorry that was a little bit complicated, but I hope it was clear.
Thank you, David. Any other questions? I've got a gentleman right here in front.
So about the EAA, so I thought that it was already replaced by the ESAT, and if I've already taken it I already taken it in October, so do I have to retake it again in the future, or do I have to take the EAA or the ESAT after I finish the first year in Hong Kong U?
So you're right, the EA has been replaced. It's a new examination for this year. So have you already applied to Cambridge?
No.
So why did you, so what is the Cambridge-based test that you took, is that right?
I took ESAT, yes.
Okay, so why did you take the test if you're not applying to Cambridge?
Because I wanted to test my skills in physics and mathematics.
Right, so in that case you will have to take it again, because you'll be taking the test as part of a different cohort to which you're being considered. And that's not fair. So if there's some variations in the standard of the test, those variations have to apply to everybody. It's like saying, you know, what's the value of the historical examination in one curriculum compared to the current value? It can be different. So you have to take the test as part of the year of application. Taking it already will be good experience for you, but you can't carry that mark over. It will probably confuse Cambridge because they'll be giving your results and they won't be able to find you as an applicant. So they'll assume that there's been an administrative error, I would imagine, but they'll soon realise that you're not an applicant, But if you do reapply as part of this scheme or any other scheme, you will have to take that test again during the process of application. In other words, the October, the same month that you would apply to Cambridge through UCAS.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you.
How did you find the test, by the way? How did you find it?
It was pretty good. I think there were two periods that were pretty easy, but Math 2 was quite challenging.
All right,
That's
thank
all
you.
it is.
Thank you very much, Ronnie. Please, another gentleman, please.
Yeah, so good afternoon. I have a question about the eventual degrees that we're actually going to obtain by the time that we
Yeah.
graduate, if we are actually accepted in this stream. So you've said there is a Bachelor of Arts and also a Master of Arts degree that is being
Yeah.
given to us upon graduation. May I ask, are we therefore implied to we have to take art classes on
No.
top of studying engineering? Or is that just
Right, yeah.
for name's
Yeah,
sake? I'm not sure.
so I said at the beginning, there's no such thing as a stupid question, and I think a lot of people in that room will be equally confused, and I understand why you're confused. So let me explain. Cambridge only gives out Bachelor of Arts degrees. It does not give Bachelor of Science. We've been giving degrees out for 800 years, and our tradition is only to give out Bachelor of Arts. So it doesn't matter what subject you're studying in Cambridge, from astrophysics to philosophy to chemistry to engineering, you will receive a BA. It doesn't mean you've studied arts in any way. The courses we offer require a good depth of knowledge in that subject, and they focus only on that subject. So there are no arts elements of any science degree. It's all core science. And some people criticise us for that. But so don't be misled, because you're getting a Bachelor of Arts degree doesn't mean you have a qualification in arts. But what I will say is you don't need to worry. The world values Cambridge degrees. The world knows if you've got a good degree from Cambridge, you are an outstanding student in your subject. There's no question. With engineering, you get an MEng, and you could argue that the MEng trumps a BA anyway. And anybody who's interested in you will focus on the MEng. If you've got a distinction in your MEng, they're not going to go, well, what's this first class honours in your BA? And of course, you're going to have a Bachelor of Science from Hong Kong U anyway, which backs that up. But the MA that you're given it's a bit quirky. It's not something you earn, but it's an acknowledgement that to get any honours degree at Cambridge, you have had to work really, really hard, and harder than you would at most universities. So that additional MA is just to acknowledge the fact that you've actually gone a bit beyond what you normally expected to have done at most universities. So 4 degrees, all completely respected and accepted by academia and industry around the world. I go beyond that and say, I sometimes get emails from companies saying we will employ every graduating engineer you have at your college, and usually they've all got jobs anyway. Our employment rate is 94%, which is the highest of any university in the world as far as I can make out. So don't worry about the credibility of the degree. The degrees from Hong Kong U and Cambridge are massively respected, and I would argue would buy you more opportunity than any other combination of degrees I can think of.
Thank you very much for the answering. I also have a question about more towards the Hong Kong U side of administration stuff. Since this year, the broad-based system has been replaced by a specialized system starting from year 1. So if I'm getting into a program that actually includes a double degree, say the one with AI, and I also managed to get into this scheme, does that mean that I have to forego the original degree that I've
Right, so that is a good question. So what we try to do over the first 2 years of your Hong Kong U studies is we balance the courses you do so they're as relevant as possible to commencing study in that subject in Cambridge at the beginning of our second year. But in the event that you don't get a place at Cambridge, you still have a successful Hong Kong U degree. In other words, the path you've gone down doesn't then limit how well you can do at Hong Kong U. So it's a balance. And the choice of courses varies a little bit from engineering and natural sciences, but both faculties are very well aware that it's your long-term interests that are important. One thing I didn't mention, and I should mention it now, is that one difference between Hong Kong U Engineering and Cambridge Engineering is that computer science is incorporated in engineering at Hong Kong U, whereas computer science at Cambridge is a completely different degree. And computer science is not included in this scheme. So if you want to study computer science, although you do it within engineering at Hong Kong U, don't think you can come to Cambridge to study engineering and then change to computer science. You can't. We have something called information engineering, but it is information engineering. It's not computer science. And that confusion has caused a few problems in the past where students who want to do computer science have applied through the engineering program thinking they'll be allowed to do computer science, and they won't be. But all this information will be given to you and reinforced from within Hong Kong U at the point of application. So you're absolutely clear what you're applying for, what the requirements are, what the admissions process is, and what you need to do to perform to the required offer standard.
Yes, I would like to further supplement this gentleman's question as well, because I believe that you are also asking in the same way, like for example, when we over here at University of Hong Kong, we launched some new program. For example, the X plus AI. X plus AI is a Bachelor and Master of Science combined program. So any student, if you got in to this scheme, yes, you will be spending your first 2 years at Hong Kong U, same as usual when you are looking for the Hong Kong U Cambridge program. But remember, starting from, if you successfully get into Hong Kong U Cambridge program, then starting from year 3, you'll be going to Cambridge. So the originally planned for 4-year study over here at Hong Kong U in bachelor degree level, and another 1-year master degree level in artificial intelligence and AI will not be applicable for the design of your 2+3 of Hong Kong U plus Cambridge scheme anymore. So at that time, you have to make choice whether you want to take up this 2+3 to Cambridge as what the scheme is designed, or you will be give up that one and stay on your 4+1. The Bachelor Engineering degree plus 1 year of AI and Master of Science. So that's a choice that you have to make.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're getting some good questions. Best questions ever this year so far, I think.
Yes, gentlemen, please.
Thank you for your very interesting presentation. But I'm just wondering, so for example, in Hong Kong, you didn't offer aerospace engineering, but in Cambridge, you guys do offer aerospace engineering. So is there a limit that, for example, if I specialize in mechanical engineering here in Hong Kong U, I can only study mechanical engineering in Cambridge, or I can switch path? Thank you.
Yeah, another good question. One of the biggest strengths of this scheme is that you don't need to decide what branch of engineering you want to follow at Cambridge until the end of the regular second year. So if you're admitted via the scheme, you have a full year to make up your mind what type of engineering you want to do. And the cohort of Cambridge engineers that you'll join will be students that have studied thermodynamics, materials, mechanics, civil, electrical, mathematics, a little bit of manufacturing, everything but chemical engineering. So they won't know what, or they won't have committed to a branch of engineering. So you'll have a full year at Cambridge to decide whether you still want to be a mechanical engineer, and you may well be, which is fine. But you may decide, as you've said, you want to do aeronautical or aerospace engineering, which is fine. And nobody will question it. Nobody will say, you said you were going to do this and now you want to do that. And in fact, the final term in the second year at engineering, we have something called Paper 8. And Paper 8 consists of something like 12 different sections. And each section is a different branch of engineering, and you choose 2 of them. So although you've got this huge examination paper, you only answer questions from 2 sections, and you'll have done courses, selected courses in those sections out of preference, because you'll have done 2 years of engineering by that point, And that's the final confirmation that that's the area that you want to go in. And when that's finished, you then decide what you want to major in. But we're even very flexible in the major. You can actually have 3 majors in Cambridge in engineering. You don't do any more courses, but you're more dilute. Most students, 60% do 1 major, about 30% do 2 majors, and about 10% do 3 majors. But that's entirely your choice. The only course that's competitive that you're not guaranteed to be given a place on is manufacturing engineering, where the numbers are capped and the demand is high. But all other branches of engineering, it's entirely your choice. So there's nothing you can do at Hong Kong U that will limit your ability to choose what type of engineer you want to be because you've made those early choices.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, one more question from the gentleman in front.
Mr. Hartwell, I would have some question regarding to the admission of the scheme, which you said that the program requires students with excellent results in university examination system, but the scheme also said there will be a pre-screening test by Hong Kong U on the science and mathematics. So I would like to ask if only the students with excellent academic results can be applicable to the screening test, or everyone studying the engineering or the science subjects can apply to the screening test.
Yeah, I think Katie may be better to answer that than I. What we don't get involved in that at all. But the fundamental criteria that we will use to make offers to students is academic potential. So if some this has never happened ever, but if some student slipped through the net that wasn't very good academically, they'd be found out by the admissions process that we put them through, and they wouldn't be made an offer. So the only criteria we use is academic potential. There's one question we ask, and that is, if the student were admitted to read this Cambridge degree, would he or she do well? That is the only question. And if the answer is yes, you're going to be made an offer. If the answer is no, you're not going to be made an offer. And note, extracurricular activities are irrelevant. Being a good badminton player doesn't necessarily make you a good chemist. Connections with Cambridge don't matter. It's purely about the academic potential of the individual who's demonstrated that potential through the Hong Kong U screening process and Cambridge's own admissions process. But in terms of the detail of the screening process you're going to have to go through, Hong Kong U will be better to advise on that than I will.
Thank you, David. Yes, indeed. So at this moment, for the past practice, the situation was you will have your GPA, and you can come from any major at Hong Kong U, right? So other than that, will be top up with screening test. So both will be considered together as the practice. So unfortunately, we will not be able to entertain at this moment only based on your GPA. So everyone will be doing the same test.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if I can further supplement is that it also get an opportunity to have the same benchmark for evaluate students, because we all understand sometimes an A in a program, in one program, how to say equivalent an A for the other program. So sometimes the screening tests give us another measurement for us to make our consideration. But the general principle that we're looking for is the same as Professor Caldwell mentioned. We look for your academic potential. If you're already top of the class and then perform reasonably fine with the screening test, relatively you will be also on the higher potential within our children's potential as well. Any other questions from the audience? Again, for audience in another room, if you have any questions, please, you can raise your hand and the staff will be more than happy to put you down for asking questions.
I mean, having heard the presentation, I hope you're excited by it. I mean, it really is an extraordinary scheme, as I said at the beginning. There is absolutely nothing like it anywhere in the world, and in a way, I'm a bit envious of the students who get on it, because there were no opportunities like this when I was studying, and the success of the students that do get on it is breathtaking. And credit to both Hong Kong U and Cambridge. It is a genuine dual collaboration. It's not a joint degree, it is a dual degree. It's two really amazing universities collaborating together in a way that no other two universities in the world have been able to do. And you as the students, you're the ones who benefit. And we get a thrill out of seeing how well you do, but ultimately you're the ones who benefit.
Well, David, it would not be the case without your hard work behind the whole thing. That's a great effort to create such an opportunity for students over here for so many years. And again, we over here at Hong Kong U, a certain period of time, will be going there to see our students well, because even they are studying over there, they are our Hong Kong U students. Same also in Cambridge. We're so proud of them, and we'll be more than happy to keep looking after them, if not also maintain the connections further in their entire career. Again, audience, any questions? Are we having any questions from upstairs? All right, if no, in fact, it's a perfect time to end this sharing section. And David, I really like to thank you so much again for this hours and spending the time with our potential candidates coming to our engineering faculty. And I also believe you'll see the sincerity and the effort that we put into this amazing scheme for so many years, with our great students performing and shining over there very nicely. We hope you will be one of them under the great care of Professor Cutwell. So David, thank you so much, and thank you, and audience, and please